Hello grade 11s, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be dealing with dynamics of markets for grade 11. So please guys, if you like these videos, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and tell your friends about this channel so that you can also help them improve the economics marks, because it's still a challenge to learners in terms of economics. So today we'll just be outlining the theory of perfect and imperfect markets. I'll be going into detail with the different types of markets that we have in the imperfect market, like oligopoly, monopoly, monopolistic competition. So before we go into that, let's see what grade 11 needs to know with regards to this topic. So a market is perfectly competitive when there is no excessive control or power from buyers or sellers. Well, none of the two parties involved in the market are making price decisions. So sellers should not be able to charge higher prices to increase their profits. That is a perfect market, and the market structure influences the way in which markets functions and the relationship between markets. So it is important for learners to understand the interaction. We can still call the relationship between a factor market and product market, as it is discussed in the circular flow model. So I have done a video previously on factor market and product markets. So you should know that in grade 11 to be able to pass. So you should know your circular flow model very well. And you know that an increase in demand for clothing goods market increase the demand for labor, which is the factor market. So the demand in goods increases the demand for the factor market, which is the labor market. So as the industry is labor intensive, it is important to use resources efficiently to produce goods and services that we need. And markets are classified into two types. We have the perfect market and the imperfect markets. So in grade 11, learners should know by heart the market structure under each type of market, as well as the characteristics or conditions for each market structure in detail. So for you to be able to pass this chapter, that's what you need to know. And again, you need to know the demand and supply side of factor market, factor market and goods market. And then perfect market has a perfect competition as a market structure, right? So we can the perfect market, we can talk about the agricultural products are relatively easy to produce. Hence, there are many farmers in South Africa with homogeneous products such as vegetables, fruits, and milk. These farmers will make economic profit in the short run and normal profits in the long run. So we have to know which businesses fall under different types of market. Now let's get into it. So another thing that will help you guys with answering short questions is knowing key concepts. And when you are asked to write an essay with regards to dynamics of markets, in your introduction, you have to define what is a market, and you have to define imperfect markets, and you have to define perfect markets. So you need to know what is a market. A market is a place where buyers and sellers meet. And then perfect competition is a market structure where many firms offer homogeneous product. And then imperfect market occurs when any of the conditions of the perfect competition do not exist. So that's what you have to include in your essay question. So it's very important you know your concepts, how to define them, because when you write an essay, your introduction should define whatever topic you are given. If it's circular flow, you need to define what is a circular flow, and your introduction should have 3 points. That's why I say for perfect market, it's 3 marks, so you can decide to define a market, define a perfect market, define an imperfect market, and then you go into your body and make a distinction between these types of markets. So it's important to know all the key concepts that I have included for you there. And in this page as well, we still have key concepts for you guys. Yes, what you also have to know by heart is if you're asked to discuss the characteristics or conditions of a perfect market, right? So, number one, many buyers, right? In a perfect competition, there are many buyers who can influence the price. So it's not one person. You can decide to plant vegetables today and sell. There's no restriction, right? And then number two, many sellers. You have to talk about there are many products and producers in the perfect competition. You need to know that products are homogeneous. You need to know that no price competition. Sellers do not compete with one another on price because products are exactly the same. And there is a price that comes like every day of certain vegetables and fruits. Like there's a marketplace in every province where like farmers take their goods to be sold. So there's a price, you can even Google it every day, that indicates the price of tomato, lettuce and everything. So that's why you know that today lettuce is like this, tomorrow the price of lettuce has extremely changed. It's because there is a certain rule that a body that determines the prices, and that is a general price of that fruit or vegetable. And then one thing you need to know is that entry and exit is completely easy or free. So that's a characteristic you have to know. Collusion is not allowed. It's impossible for firms to collude because there are so many. And you have to know that control over market price. Sellers are price takers, do not have control over market prices. So it's very important that you know these characteristics or conditions of perfect market, because if you are making a distinction between perfect market and imperfect markets, you need to outline this 10 points. And then after outlining these 10 points, you then after that you talk about imperfect markets. So the demand curve is a horizontal line. It's perfectly competitive. So we have the demand curve. In that instant, you will say the demand curve for a perfect competition is a horizontal line. In my next video, I will be covering up all the graphs with regards to dynamics of markets. So in this one, I'll just be doing theory, and then in the next one, we will delve more into those complicated graphs so that you can know them. And then number 10, profit or loss. Firms can make economic profit during short run and normal profit in the long run. Normal profit occurs when total revenue equals total cost. So when exactly revenue is equals to the expenses, we have normal profit. Economic profit is when revenue exceeds costs. So I also didn't talk about collusion. Collusion refers to a situation where, let's say, rival firms agree to work together, often by setting higher prices in order to make greater profits. So say let's increase prices as people in a perfect, farmers in a perfect competition. Let's increase prices and enjoy a lot of profit. And if we all increase prices, which means consumers don't have a choice but to buy, because everybody in the market is selling at a higher price than they should. So that's collusion. So it's not allowed in the perfect market. We can also look at the characteristics, which are the conditions of imperfect markets. So we talk about the market power, right? The seller is either the only supplier or may face limited competition from few other large firms, all of whom have a large market share. So there are not a lot of people who sell in this market. And the control over price. Firms are price setters and makers. The people who sell like cell phones, maybe the clothing industry, people who toothpaste and so on. Like, they are price setters, right? And our ESCOM here for electricity. So in that market, it's actually the opposite of perfect markets. Imperfect markets are the opposite of imperfect markets. So they have full control over prices, so there's collision in here, and nature of the products are heterogeneous, even often products are similar. These firms change certain features of the product, like in cell phones, we know. So information for a monopoly, like, let's talk about information now. For a monopoly, information is complete, but for oligopoly and monopolistic competition is incomplete, right? So no price competition. There is no competition for monopoly, because monopoly is one business rendering a service in the whole country. No one is competing with that business. While there is availability for oligopoly and monopolistic competition through advertising. So there is price competition only between oligopoly and monopolistic competition, but with monopoly there is no price competition. But in the perfect market, there's absolutely no price competition because the products are the same. And yes, other characteristics is barrier to entry. There are barriers to entry such as patents. So you can patent your own thing. Your own idea cannot be stolen by somebody. So they have to come with their own one. So there are government regulations. In business studies, you should have done patents where you register your own idea and nobody else can steal it. Collusion is impossible for monopoly and monopolistic competition, whilst possible for an oligopolist. So collusion can only happen with oligopolists. It cannot happen with monopoly and monopolistic competition. And output is low for monopoly and relatively high for oligopoly, whilst monopolistic competition's output is relatively high. So where they didn't make a distinction between monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition, you must know that the characteristics are the same. So the demand curve of imperfect competition is downward sloping for a monopoly and monopolistic competition, while kinked for oligopoly. You will see when I do graphs. So the long run economic profit, it is possible for monopoly and monopolistic competition, but impossible for oligopoly. They can only make normal profit. So this is the summary for imperfect markets. For monopoly is a market structure with only one supplier providing a unique product with no close substitute. So we only have ESCOM for electricity, and we cannot get electricity anywhere else. ESCOM is the leader. And then for oligopoly is a market structure with small number of large sellers dominating the market. Banks and cell phone companies are a form of oligopoly. And then monopolistic competition is a market structure with many buyers and sellers where entry is relatively easy and the product is differentiated, like fast food restaurants and the clothing industry. So you have to know the difference. If you're given a business, which one is which? You can make a lot more research and reading about monopoly, monopolistic, and oligopoly. Just go on Google and type them and just do your research and learn more about these three types of imperfect markets, and also use your textbook. And study guides as well. If you go on Google and download study guides, I know Via Africa have free study guides which are PDF, and you can use to add up to your textbook, because it's never enough to study theory with one material. So one thing you have to know is that the government is also against collusion, because sellers collude to gain market share by raising prices and by restricting production. So this situation will disadvantage customers because they will not afford higher prices and will buy few products at high prices, and the economic activity will decline as well as economic development. So it's not good. Collusion is not a good thing for the economy. Again, what you have to know is what are the goals of the business. Goals of the business should be SMART, and it's an abbreviation. SMART is used as an abbreviation, which means they should be specific. The goals of the business. When a business is setting up goals. Those goals should be specific. What do they want to achieve? It's specific. It should be measurable. They should be able to go back and measure whether they were able to achieve that, and they should be they should be agreed. In large companies, there will be many stakeholders with an interest in the success of the business. So everybody must agree with the goals the business wants to set. And they must be realistic, which means they must be achievable. And time specific, which means they should be a time frame that in this period we should have achieved this and this and that. So that's what SMART means. And then we were going to talk about again constraints. You should know constraints forced by new firms. When you are trying to set up a business in the market, these are problems you're going to face: high setup, or they can be startup cost, lack of knowledge of the market because there's no much information available. You will only know exactly what is happening in that market when you have already opened a business. Or what you think you see, it's not entirely the truth. Those strong competition from other firms, other firms have strong competition. They have long been established and they do not struggle with anything. And with grade 11, we are done with theory. We are done with our theory. That's what you need to know in terms of theories. Now, in the next video, I will be covering up these graphs: the total cost curve, the marginal cost curve, the average variable cost curve, the average total cost curve, the fixed cost curve, the variable cost curve, the cost schedule, total revenue, marginal revenue, economic and diseconomic of scale. So those are the curves that I will be covering up in the next video. For grade 11 economics, I will just say dynamics of markets, grade 11 curves. So I will just be dealing all type of curve. And even in this one as well, you need to know your concepts very, very well. So with regards to grade 11, we are done with theory. That's all you needed to know. And now on the next video, I'll be dealing with those curves that you find it so hard to explain in exams and understand. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Until the next one. Bye.